Good evening and welcome back to Civil Defiance. I'm Otto Bismarck. For this extended broadcast, we are confronting a truth that, if properly digested, should induce shame and spark revolution across this republic. America is not merely facing a political challenge, it is suffering from a failure of imagination and a collapse of courage. We are a nation paralyzed, stuck in an endless loop of choosing between two versions of the same thing: an aging, predictable, often fragile male leadership. For 2 full terms now, we have been run by men whose energy is waning, whose cognitive acuity is a constant topic of national debate, and whose perspective is rooted in a world that no longer exists. Tonight we break that loop. We dedicate the 75-minute reckoning to the single most disruptive and therefore necessary change this nation could make: electing a president whose gender is not male and whose age is not geriatric. This is not about tokenism. This is about superior results and the global evidence proving it. The question isn't whether America can handle a female president. The question is, can America survive another octogenarian?
Let's start with the crushing weight of global reality. The American delusion that the presidency must be male is laughably parochial. Over 30 countries around the world currently have a woman serving as their head of state or head of government. If you look at the total number of women who have led nations in the modern era, that number swells dramatically. This isn't about some gradual societal shift. It's about executive competence. We must look at the data, and the data overwhelmingly favors women in leadership when it comes to specific, crucial executive traits: crisis management and clarity. Where was the international praise during the toughest crises of the last decade? It was showered on leaders like Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand for her compassionate yet decisive response to the Christchurch terror attacks and the COVID-19 pandemic. She acted not just with empathy, but with a clarity and speed that often eluded her male counterparts in larger nations. Look at Angela Merkel. For 16 years, she was the stabilizing engine of the European Union. A trained physicist, she led with an analytical, ego-free pragmatism. She mastered the art of complex, multi-state compromise, navigating financial crises and refugee crises with a steady hand. Compare that to the bombastic zero-sum game mentality that infects the American political discourse.
Prioritizing social investment. Studies on local councils and leadership worldwide, from Scandinavia to Indian panchayats, show that female leaders consistently prioritize tangible social goods, things like clean water access, education, and healthcare infrastructure, at a significantly higher rate than men. Their priorities are less focused on military posturing or abstract power and more on improving the daily lives of citizens.
Transformational leadership. Psychological research confirms women are more likely to employ a transformational leadership style. They inspire, they mentor, they build dedication. Men, by contrast, are more likely to rely on a transactional style, quid pro quo, which breeds compliance, not genuine loyalty. The conclusion is inescapable. The women who rise to the top of political systems designed to crush them are, by necessity, more resilient, more collaborative, and more focused on measurable results than the aging, privileged men they often replace. Their success is a challenge to the American Uni-Party that is built on an old boy network of entitlement. When we return, we're peeling back the layers on the deep, psychological sickness that prevents a significant number of American men from ever casting a vote for a female commander-in-chief. This isn't about policy. It's about primal fear. Welcome back to Civil Defiance. Let's address the elephant in the polling booth: the American man's fear of a female leader. This fear is not rational. It is not about whether she can command the military. We have historical titans like Queen Elizabeth I, who saw off the Spanish Armada, and modern giants like Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, who commanded her nation through war. This fear is primal and rooted in status anxiety. In the American cultural narrative, the president is the ultimate alpha male. That role is a core pillar of the traditional male identity. To place a woman in that seat, especially a highly competent, self-possessed woman who did not ask permission, is, for many men, a direct assault on their personal, social, and professional standing. We can break this down into specific anxieties. Fear of loss of control, the pussy-whipped syndrome. The cultural shorthand for a man controlled by a woman is a term of ultimate derision. For centuries, a man's power was defined by his independence and dominance. When a woman takes the highest office, it triggers a collective, subconscious fear of being dominated or controlled by female authority, a fear that originates in childhood and is reinforced by a patriarchal society. They refuse to grant her political authority because they fear the loss of their own domestic and social authority. The competence threat and likability trap. Research shows that the more competent a woman is in the workplace, the less likable she is rated by male peers. An ambitious, highly qualified woman is seen as a threat, a disruption of the expected order. The same characteristics of drive and ruthlessness that are praised in a man are weaponized to dismiss a female candidate as cold, abrasive, or too ambitious. The male voter demands she be both motherly and commander-in-chief, a performative tightrope no man is ever required to walk. This brings us back to the octogenarian president. Why the desperate clinging to a candidate whose best years are demonstrably behind them? Because they are familiar. They represent the unchallenged, predictable male power structure of the past. Electing an old man, regardless of his mental state, is a vote to maintain the illusion of the status quo and protect the existing male hierarchy from the disruptive force of female power. It's a vote for nostalgia and comfort over dynamic, forward-looking competence. This isn't just prejudice. It is a powerful psychological defense mechanism used to protect a fragile identity that feels constantly under siege in the modern world. And the Uni-Party establishment exploits this fear brilliantly to keep its own ranks intact. When we return, we must confront the uncomfortable truth about the other half of the American electorate, the women who demand equality in every other sphere, but who fail, again and again, to grant it in the highest office. It is the hypocrisy that kills political progress. Welcome back to Civil Defiance. We now turn the blowtorch on the other half of this equation. For decades, American women have been the engine of social and political progress, vocally demanding an end to systemic inequality. They are right to do so. Yet, when a woman stands on the national stage and asks for the highest office, her most fervent opposition often comes from her own demographic. This is the bitter truth. American women often fail to support their own gender for the presidency. This is the ultimate political self-sabotage, and is driven by two factors, rooted in the same cynical political calculation: the tyranny of pragmatic bias. This is a crucial concept. It means that women voters withhold support from a female candidate not because they dislike her, but because they believe the rest of America, the male-dominated, patriarchal Uni-Party establishment, will never let her win. They view her as unelectable. This is an act of political cynicism disguised as pragmatism. They internalize the belief that the barriers are too high, and rather than challenge those barriers, they fold, choosing the perceived safer male candidate from their party to avoid wasting a vote. They become an active participant in their own marginalization. This is the sound of political defeatism. The party over gender, the tribal trap. For too many women, partisan loyalty trumps gender solidarity. A Democratic woman will choose an elderly male Democratic candidate over a younger, more dynamic Republican woman, and a Republican woman will do the opposite. Their political identity is defined by the Uni-Party banner before it is defined by the pursuit of gender parity. This tribalism ensures the survival of the male-dominated party structures. It's a refusal to embrace the one thing that could shatter the political glass ceiling: a temporary, unified, nonpartisan vote for a candidate purely on the basis of gender breaking the mold. No such solidarity has ever truly manifested at the presidential level, and until it does, the men on both sides will continue to laugh their way to the White House. The core irony is that women, in their correct outrage over inequality,
often perpetuate that inequality at the highest level by clinging to the Uni-Party's preferred male champion. They scream about the glass ceiling in corporate America, but refuse to swing the hammer at the political one when they have the chance. Civil Defiance demands consistency and courage, and here, the female electorate has been found wanting. In our final, extended segment, we will synthesize this argument. We will compare the global achievements of female leaders against the systemic paralysis of the American political machine. It is time for a genuine moment of reckoning. We return for the final push on Civil Defiance. The American political system is an anachronism. It is an outlier in the developed world. We have established that a significant, diverse number of countries are currently, or have recently been, successfully led by women. Iceland's Vigdis Finnbogadóttir was the world's first democratically elected female president, serving for 16 years, from 1980 to 1996, and transforming the cultural landscape of her country. Liberia's Ellen Johnson Sirleaf became Africa's first elected female head of state, inheriting a nation shattered by civil war and leading it through a decade of reconstruction and debt relief, earning a Nobel Peace Prize for her work. Chile's Michelle Bachelet led her nation through 2 non-consecutive terms, focusing on social reforms, pension increases, and greater access to education. These examples are not mere footnotes, they are proof points. They demonstrate that female leadership is not just possible, it is often necessary to clean up the messes left by decades of male-dominated, conflict-driven politics. Women, forced to negotiate and collaborate to get to the top, often bring those same skills to governance. The current American reality is a shame. Our system selects primarily from a pool of aging, entrenched men who have been part of the Uni-Party establishment for half a century. The result is a political environment that is stagnant, prone to conflict, and incapable of solving complex, generational problems. The moment for civil defiance is here, and it is a 2-part declaration. To the American male, your fear of a woman is not a sign of strength. It is a sign of your political insecurity. Stop protecting a fragile status quo that is failing you, your family, and your country. A woman's strength in the Oval Office is not a threat to your manhood. It is a vital injection of competence that this republic desperately needs. To the American female, stop the self-sabotage. Stop letting pragmatic bias dictate your vote. Every time you withhold your support from a highly qualified female candidate because you're afraid she can't win, you make your own fear a reality. You cannot preach equality while voting to maintain the male Uni-Party structure. Your demand for parity is meaningless if you are not willing to cast a vote that secures it. The choice is not between a Democrat and a Republican. The choice is between the stagnation of the octogenarian past and the dynamic, proven competence of female leadership. It is time for America to drop its archaic entitlement, open its eyes to the world, and finally, bravely, elect a president who does not shuffle, but leads. This is not a suggestion. It is a necessity. It is civil defiance. I'm Otto Bismarck. Good night.